Before we look at the impact of this result on Narendra Modi and the BJP, what about the Congress party? I start with two questions. Will the Congress field Rahul Gandhi in 2014? Following up from this, despite Rahul Gandhi's best efforts not to be drawn into a personality duel, is a clash inevitable now? And joining me is Manish Tiwari, Union Information and Broadcasting Minister. Also joining us is Patel, Union Minister and NCP leader. Let's get the perspective of our representatives in the government. Right on top of news are Manish Tiwari and Patel. Thank you very much for joining me. Personality politics. Inevitable, isn't it, Manish Tiwari? And if it were not inevitable, why is it that you went around telling everybody today that in the 7 constituencies where Rahul Gandhi campaigned, the Congress party won? By saying so, you yourself are admitting that personalities decide the course of politics, that personalities decide the course of electoral victories.
Well, I think, Arnab, you need to first look at the big picture. And the big picture is that you had 2 states which went to polls. Both were held by the Bharatiya Janata Party. The Congress reclaimed one. The Bharatiya Janata Party held on to the other. It is advantage whom? I don't think it requires rocket science to figure out that it is obviously advantage Congress. And insofar as my statement with regard to Mr. Rahul Gandhi is concerned, as I was plotting the chart in the morning, I discovered that all the 13 places where he had campaigned in both Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat, 8 in Gujarat and 5 in Himachal Pradesh, the Congress won all those 13 constituencies. So that's a statement of fact.
Because,
and number 3, and number 3,
is this a discovery after Gujarat, Manish Tiwari?
Number 3, allow me to complete. You see, our politics and our strategy is not determined by whom the opposition decides or doesn't decide to field against us. Let's not forget the fact that the NDA and the BJP campaign in 2004 was led by Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee. In 2009, it was led by Mr. L.K. Advani.
No,
so if the Bharatiya Janata Party feels that X or Y in their party, is actually a taller leader, that's their problem, and we'll come to the bridge. We'll cross the bridge when we come to it. And a lot which is being made about this triple play. This is not the first time it has happened. Why are people forgetting Delhi? The Congress won Delhi 3 times in a row.
Why were you? Understand, but why were you plotting the graph is my question. Patel, let me put that question to you. I don't think it's coincidental that Manish Tiwari, a Union and Information and Broadcasting Minister, points out that in the 7 constituencies where Rahul Gandhi went to, Rahul Gandhi won. By making the point, is there any doubt in your mind, Patel, that your colleague in the Council of Ministers, Manish Tiwari, is making the point that where Rahul Gandhi goes, the Congress party wins? Or he's trying to make that point?
Well, I don't want to get into that. I don't belong to the Congress party. All I can say is that certainly Rahul Gandhi is a tall leader of the Congress party, and he is looked upon as the future leader. So I'm sure that Mr. Rahul Gandhi does have some USP which will drive the Congress for the future. But all I can say is at this moment that if you look at the larger picture, I agree with Manish that both the states were held by the BJP and they've lost one of the 2. So to that extent, it's, as he rightly said, no rocket science. But I would say congratulations to Mr. Narendra Modi, irrespective of my own or my party's differences with him. That to win a state for the 3rd time is also no mean achievement.
I understand.
Yes, so
that's very graceful of you to say that.
No, you see, it's not a question of whether I acknowledge it or not.
But I would have expected from men of great experience and candor as yourself and Manish Tiwari a more honest answer on whether you think a personality contest is inevitable. And my question to Manish Tiwari continues. Manish Tiwari makes a point, very strong point, statistically backed, about the importance of Rahul Gandhi as a personality. Yet, Manish Tiwari himself will deflect the question about a personality contest. If the personality of Rahul Gandhi is magnetic enough to attract votes, Manish Tiwari, why don't you wholeheartedly talk about a personality contest in 2014, which is the principal issue which emerges from the Gujarat elections?
Well, Arnab, implicit in your question is the inherent conundrum of the Bharatiya Janata Party. I have not heard any Bharatiya Janata Party leader come out and make any categorical statement with regard to, what they have in mind for 2014, which is still 14 months ago, off. In fact, all that you've heard from the Bharatiya Janata Party the whole day long is a lot of waffling. And as I earlier reiterated and pointed out, that we don't base our strategy or our policies with regard to whom the opposition decides to pit against us. You covered the 2004 elections. Wasn't the 2004 campaign led by Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee? And the BJP and the NDA, with all due respect to him, bit the dust.
Now going to start.
The point I'm trying to make is that the 2009 campaign was led by Mr. L.K. Advani. He permanently remained, with all due respects to him. I have the greatest personal regard for him, Prime Minister in waiting. So therefore, this entire barua or this entire hysteria which is being sought to be built up, unfortunately, it rests on a foundation of clay and is completely misconceived and ill-founded, for the lack of a better word.
One second. Navika Kumar has a follow-up point to you. No, Manish, yes, go ahead, Navika.
Mr. Manish Tiwari, the question really is very simple. Rahul Gandhi only campaigned in 7 constituencies, which is 3.8% of the total assembly constituencies that were there in the state of Gujarat. So were you playing only to restrict Narendra Modi, or were you playing to win in that state? Where is the winning instinct of the Congress party, which has lost Uttar Pradesh, it's lost Punjab, it's lost Bihar? Are you giving up on states completely?
Well, Navika, coming from somebody who's as erudite, as experienced, and as wise a political editor as you are, I think this question is, with all due respects to you, a little naive, for the simple reason that if you look at the trajectory of the campaign of Congress national leaders across different Vidhan Sabha elections, you would find that A, it is demand-based, depending upon the requests which come from individual constituencies. B, it is reinforced by a perception which the PCC formulates, and the national leadership of the Congress party in no state, does more than a few meetings in the last days of the campaign. And this has been a pattern consistent, over the decades. I'm not even saying over the years. So therefore, to extrapolate a particular victory or a triple play in a particular state and try and sort of project from there and build it up, I think is a bit of a stretch. Why do people forget that this is not the first time it has happened? Delhi is a living example in front of you, where in 1998, 2003 and 2008, and 2008 under very, very accentuating and trying circumstances, the Congress triumphed in Delhi.
Okay. I'd like to welcome Mr. Arun Jaitley, who's now joining us on our News Hour debate. Praful Patel, you want to make a point? Very quickly, please, in response to what Manish Tiwari said, and then I'll go across to Mr. Arun Jaitley.
No,
yes.
No, I'm just putting a new dimension. In Gujarat, we had an alliance with the Congress in the previous election. This election also, we wanted to have an alliance with the Congress. At the last minute, even after discussion with the Congress, the seat sharing formula, did not go through, and that led to a lot of confusion. And I wish that the Congress had acknowledged. In fact, for a while, our friends in Gujarat, I'm not talking about the central leadership, got so carried away that they were in the position to defeat Narendra Modi that they almost, tried to ride over all the, the ally or the aspirations of other people. And that led to, in fact, I think there was too much of overconfidence amongst the local leadership of the Congress, which, if had it been contained by the central leadership, would have led to, I'm not saying whether Modi would have won or lost, but certainly the results would have been far, far, far more encouraging for the Congress, because they are the principal party in the opposition in Gujarat. We were only a supporting party. But unfortunately, that did not happen.
I find it very fascinating that you are openly today here on this program saying that the Congress party should have been more accommodative of the ally. I find that very, very interesting. Ally, Manish Tiwari will say, of course, it's democratic, it's fine. That's not my question. My question, which I now go to question number 3. Question number 3. Arun Jaitley, Firstly, your observations on what Mr. Sibal and Chidambaram said today. Also, what Mr. Manish Tiwari said today, that wherever Rahul Gandhi won, Rahul Gandhi went, the Congress party won. That was the first point he made. And Mr. Sibal and Mr. Chidambaram said, we gained and we contained the BJP to less than 170. Your responses to both at the end of this contest. Mr. Jaitley.
Well, what Mr. Tiwari says about Mr. Gandhi visiting some parts of the state and he feels that the party did well, well, there's hardly a serious comment I wish to make on this. If that is Mr. Tiwari's post facto observation, then he should have expected his leader to visit a far more places so that he could have served his party a little better. The fact is he didn't do it. Or is it that he chose only those constituencies where the party was a little comfortable about and didn't go where the going was not so good? The Congress party's main challenge was in urban Gujarat, where the party was expected to lose, and therefore some senior leaders of the Congress party should have gone to urban Gujarat and fought it out against the BJP, which they didn't. As far as Mr. Chidambaram and Mr. Sibal are concerned, they've been good lawyers. About Mr. Chidambaram, I said he's also a very experienced finance minister. So whenever the economy does badly, a finance minister is always told you must talk it up. So when the Congress party was doing badly in Gujarat, I think the answer he found was almost very similar. Let me talk the party up, even in defeat, and say, well, I see a victory in this defeat. I don't think that's a very convincing argument.
Mr. Jaitley, just before you came in, Manish Tiwari was asked a similar question about the Congress party's performance. And he said you do not emphasize strongly enough on the fact that it's actually 1-1 in terms of the score and it's -1 for the BJP. The BJP should today not be gloating because it has lost out on one of two states which it was in power in.
Well, he can take satisfaction out of a statistic. But the fact of the matter is the significant election in this round was Gujarat. Gujarat is a state where we won 5 times in a row. And therefore, ordinarily, we should have been faced with some element of anti-incumbency. Narendra Modi, this was 3rd election in a row. There should have been a personal anti-incumbency. At the same time, this was one election which from the very word go, it was clear that we were winning. The only question was, how much is the margin of the victory? Now, Himachal is also a very important election. But Himachal was a very tightly contested election, and I must confess, I've said so already today, that we lost Himachal not really to the Congress, but because of our internal issues by which we faltered probably in the selection of candidates in some of the regions. We had as many as 17 rebels. 3 of our strong rebels have won, and many others resulted in the defeat of our candidates. If we had put our house in order in Himachal, probably Mr. Tiwari would not even have got the little satisfaction with which he is going to sleep tonight.
Well, with your permission, I would like to get a response from Mr. Tiwari, who's also with us right now. Mr. Tiwari, Arun Jaitley makes 2 very substantial points here. First, he admits quite candidly, I must say this is very candid of a BJP leader to admit on live television, that we had problems in Himachal. So it was not so much the Congress party defeating us, as much it were internal problems. And secondly, he makes a point that the margin of victory was much smaller. And isn't he right, Mr. Tiwari? Margin of victory in Himachal was somewhere around or below 5%. And therefore, you cannot really draw that comparison to make your point that it's actually -1 for the BJP, Mr. Tiwari.
Well, the reality is, Arnab, that India is a union of states. And in India, there are some states which are bigger and some states which are smaller. So to even suggest that a victory in a smaller state is not a victory, with all due respect to Mr. Arun Jaitley, I would say, does smack of a little bit of arrogance. But be that as it may, and the triple play that he was emphasizing on, drawing that distinction between a hat-trick in Gujarat and the fact that, the Congress was able to defeat the BJP in Himachal Pradesh, he has been or is a part of the milieu of Delhi. He would recall that this triple play has taken place earlier in in Delhi also, which by certain yardsticks and by certain standards, is a much tougher turf to bat on because Delhi is completely urban. So therefore, what's happened in Gujarat, yes, we do admit that the rural-urban divide has again done us in Gujarat. From 2002 onwards, we've been sharing 50% of the rural seats, and the BJP has an advantage in the urban seats. That's a fair point, and we need to go back to the drawing board on that.
Well,
but to emphasize on that triple play, while completely ignoring the fact that the Congress wants one state back from the BJP, I think is being a little less magnanimous.